What is happening, YouTube's Chief Red here, back with another video. And today we're going to continue with the College Football 27 wish list. This is part 2. So if you want to check out part 1, if you haven't already, that is touching more on some of the general improvements, gameplay, presentation, UI improvements, that type of thing. This video is specific to Road to Glory and Dynasty. So if you want to hear what I got to say about these, you're in the right place. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Name's Chief Red. If you're not new, appreciate the support. But if you're not a subscriber, hit that like and subscribe. You know the drill. Now let's get into this wish list, part 2. Now, I want to start with Road to Glory. I feel like Road to Glory is decent, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. And, a lot of this might not happen, but, we can hope, right? So I definitely want to start with some of the improvements, just to give y'all a little bit of background if you're new here. On College Football 26 for Road to Glory, they added in high school games. And this is something that a lot of people wanted on 25 that we didn't get, and we ended up getting it on 26. Now, it's something that we had in the past, and, they went ahead and added it for 26, but now it's time to expand on the foundation that they've laid in the last game. So for high school right now, currently, you don't have the ability to play full games. You play what's called moments, which is kind of like, they give you these like challenges, so to speak, and you go in and you play it, and then they give you these bonuses or things like that towards a scholarship for a certain school that might be recruiting you. And then from there, you just go to college once you pick your school, and that's it. Now, I would like to see, first and foremost, I think these challenges could be tweaked a little bit, because right now they have these bonuses for the challenges that are supposed to contribute to, a certain status once you get to college. Like, it'll help with your academics, or it might help with, your branding or something like that. It might give you a little bonus there. But it just felt like in 26, none of this was really felt to me. Like, it felt like you would get those bonuses and it was like maybe helping you make your decision unless you were dead set on where you were going to go. But once you got to college, you didn't feel any of that impact. So I would like to see that kind of reworked a little bit. I think if we can get a little bit more impact in the bonuses from the challenges that's in the moments, then it might make the game feel like it's a little bit more immersive, but also it makes it feel like what you're working towards in high school will actually pay off in some way in college. Because right now it's just like, okay, you pick a school, you go play your 4 years and you're done, right? So I think high school contributing to college maybe needs to be tweaked a little bit on the scholarship side with the recruiting. Number 2, that coach trust system, I don't know, it feels very bland. They might want to just scrap that altogether. Or maybe they can expand it to kind of the sphere of influence type of thing on Madden, but even that's very bland. Like, once you get to, the first few weeks of the season, like it got pretty stale, right? So I don't know that that's the best system to put in the game. It seems like it's giving you something to work for, but it just kind of goes on and on and on, for your entire 3 to 4 years. And it doesn't really contribute to much. It helps you get a starting spot on the roster potentially. And you have, other things that you can achieve, like, being able to call an audible or call different plays. And so I don't really know how much that really matters. They could probably fit that into some other system or something, or at least tweak it a little bit. But to me, it just seems very stale. We've had it for 2 years now. So either they need to tweak it or completely revamp it, in my opinion. The other thing is the camera angles. I think the camera angles are terrible. I don't mind them on offense as much, and I've only really played quarterback or running back. I don't mind those, but on defense, I can't stand them. They only give you like 3 options. And I don't like how the camera moves. It's like, it's not stationary. So, when you're actually like running down the ball carrier trying to make a tackle, the camera will shift, which is annoying, right? Like, because it throws off your tackling angles, which is already hard enough, so they just need to give us more options there. Or they can give us the option to actually set the camera how we want, kind of like NBA 2K does. You can go in there, pick a preset, but you can actually adjust it. Same thing with MLB The Show. Those games give you the option to adjust your camera. College football and Madden should be able to do that as well. So that's my opinion on that. The other thing is the energy and skill points system. I think it needs to be tweaked. I think it needs to revamp, similar to the Coach Trust, Coach Happiness. It's just gotten stale for me. It doesn't really give you a lot of options, and it feels kind of like you're a little restricted sometimes. Like, in my opinion, I don't like the idea of, when you go in, you have a certain amount of energy to expend. I understand the point of that, but it feels like they're putting you in a box because there's no real way to earn more energy. Like, you just kind of have a set amount, and then they might give you some random scenario that'll make you spend 2 to 3 energy points. And then you have to do it. Like, and if you don't do it, then you go in and you get a negative. Like, for example, they're like, oh, well, we got to study extra for this test. Well, you can choose to study a little bit, which will be 1 energy point, moderately, which will be 2, and then you can study a lot, which will be 3 energy points, or you can not study at all. Well, if you don't study at all, you run the risk of, falling off and completely failing, and then you don't play, right? Like, so it's like it's just this linear path everywhere you go, and there's no trade-offs. There's no balance to it, right? So you go in, and it's like you either do this and you succeed, or you do this and you completely fail and you don't play. So, and there's no way to earn any more points. And then on top of that, you don't have the ability to maximize those points to be able to say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to study a little bit here, and I'm going to be able to train a lot, and I'm going to be able to do my branding because at all costs. And you only have like so many skill points. The max you can probably get is like 7 or 8. So it's just not a good system, in my opinion, right? It puts you in a box, and it takes forever to level up your player that way because you can only do like so much to actually gain skill points, unless you want to, adjust the XP sliders, and then you can get like 3 times as much, which is still not really a lot, right? So there's that kind of thing. I think that needs to be tweaked. It's just always been annoying to me. It's just one of those things where I feel like they can just really like adjust that and make it a little bit better. Another thing that I would like to see is a co-op mode for college football. I know this is a extremely far-fetched type of thing. Like they have that infrastructure in Madden. I think it's called a yard now, or maybe it's something different. I don't really remember. It's been a while. And I know it used to be called a yard. It might be like Superstar KO or something like that, whatever it's called. But they have that in Madden, and you could take your player into this environment where you could play with your friends and things like that. I would like to see that in college football. I don't have to see it, but it's just one of those things. I don't really need to see like a park or open world type of concept in college football. I don't really need to see that. I know some people have been talking about that, or EA potentially doing it. I don't really need to see it. I'm kind of burnt out on that for 2K, but it will be nice, but I don't really see how it can be that beneficial to the game. I think something that allows you to play with other positions is nice. Most importantly for Road to Glory, I think that everybody wants to see is we need more positions. The old games allowed us to play different positions, and, this is just one of the things that they stripped back. And the main reason they stripped it back is because they tried to take this game and kind of combine it into the Madden infrastructure. So if Madden doesn't have it, college football is not going to have it. Madden only has 5 positions. College football is only going to have 5 positions. So this is something that we need hands down, period. There will be no room for excuses if they do not give us at the very least 3 more positions. Like we have quarterback, cornerback, linebacker, running back, and receiver right now. There is no reason in my head that we cannot get tight end, both safeties, and defensive end. Now, I would like to see defensive tackle, and I would like to see outside linebackers. I mean, there's no excuse otherwise. I'm sorry. Like, at this point, y'all got to go ahead and keep building on the foundation, because we got to have some more positions. Like I was looking forward to making a safety or a defensive end, and just to find out that we couldn't do that was very disappointing. And then they didn't give it to us for 26. We got to have it for this year, period. So that's the most important part to me for Road to Glory. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, so y'all let me know what y'all want to see in Road to Glory for sure. And hopefully we'll get some of this stuff. I don't know. Now, one other thing that I did want to add to Road to Glory that's kind of like an extra little, would be kind of cool, in my opinion. It's just an idea that I have. I don't know, take it or leave it. Idea might be terrible, but whatever. I want to add kind of a film study element. Like, I feel like if they can add something to where you can actually like game plan for your upcoming opponents and not even, I don't want the typical like Madden, presets, like, how they do the little like text prompts and say, oh, well, it's going to be a rain game, or we've got a team that really likes to run the ball. And I don't want that because that's very like regular and bland and, whatever. I want it to be a little more in depth and specific to whatever your scheme is. Like if you wanted to make it to where you can like game plan against specific schemes, you can do that because there's only so many schemes in the game. So if a team runs a 4-3, for example, on defense, then you have like specific films, we'll call it film study, right? You have specific film study things that are related to how to beat the 4-3 defense, right? Same thing with the offense. If they run a veer and shoot, or if they run the air raid, whatever, right? Have something that's specific to that you can go through with your coach and say, like, okay, this is what we're going to do to attack this defense. But not the typical like bland text prompts. Like I want it to be in depth where you can actually maybe go and practice and work on that type of stuff instead of just like going to practice and doing these like random drills that don't really even do anything to benefit you, right? Maybe you can do something where if you succeed in practice, you can work on it. It'll give you a little boost in the game or something. I don't know. Just a little idea. Here again, the name's Film Study. If somebody at EA wants to reach out to me and, hook it up, maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not, but give me my credit for that one. You don't have to, but you kind of do. At least give me a free copy of the game or something. Anyway, the whole point is something to like freshen up the mode, right? So here again, if y'all know there's something that I might have missed, or if there's something that you want to see in Road to Glory, let me know. Now, moving on to my favorite mode, Dynasty. Dynasty mode is one of those modes that is like, it does just enough to kind of get you going and keep you kind of invested until it doesn't. Like after about like 5-6 seasons, I kind of get burnt out on Dynasty and kind of want to put it down. It gets repetitive and it's a sports game, so it's going to be repetitive. There's going to be some, repetition there, but there's definitely things they can do to spice up the mode. And in my opinion, I think that, some of the things involve just everything outside of the actual game, right? Because in the game, that's more involving the gameplay and things like that. I think that some of the storylines in the game play, like during the game, could be beefed up a little bit to kind of actually follow what you're doing in the Dynasty. I want you to mention that I'm a 2-time champion, or something like that. There's really nothing that is involved with like highlighting your actual coach that you create. You'll have a coach, but he's just kind of like a side character, like the whole point of a dynasty is that you're a coach that's running this program. And the commentators are, whoever, there's nothing to follow the coach. There's nothing to say like, he's a 3-time national champion or he's this or he's that. Like, it's just kind of like, all right, yeah, whatever team you're on, they're doing well or they're doing really bad. Or here's the game of the week or, whatever. They don't do any of that stuff. They just kind of like, it's just the same old generic, like if you were just playing an exhibition game almost. So something to kind of liven up the storyline of what this dynasty is, especially if you're like doing a rebuild. It would be a big deal if somebody like Kennesaw State or somebody got to the national championship. But I would imagine that they probably don't mention that. I don't know. I've never done a dynasty with Kennesaw State, but I'm just saying, something to actually like spice that up. I think that, this would be something that I think would be kind of cool, just a cool feature. Probably wouldn't even make that big of a difference. But if you look at something like a FC, formerly FIFA, right? They have these cutscenes that happen when you do like transfers and loans with certain players, and it'll like go into a negotiation cutscene with the other team. And here again, that can get repetitive too, but it is something that kind of spices up the game just a little bit, right? It gives you an option to actually negotiate deals. And that's not something that you can really do on college football or Madden or 2K. You can't negotiate anything. It's just like take it or leave it, right? So I think being able to do cutscenes in this game, you can do that with contract negotiations. You can add that in, which they don't have, by the way. They're just like, we're just going to offer you a new deal. Okay, cool. But I don't have any negotiating power whatsoever. All right, cool. Then you got to think about accepting a new job. No negotiations there. It's just like, well, we're going to offer you this job and hopefully you turn our school around. Like, that's it. There's no negotiating. There's no anything. There's no contract offers. It's just like, take it or leave it, right? So I think, doing that would be cool. And then giving us a cutscene would kind of make it a little bit more immersive. I think to that point, we need more options for a new job. Right now, you get 4 in like the first week in the off season or at the end, with the college football playoff or something. And then you get another 4 the next week. And they're usually like terrible job offers, but they're not the only job offers. Like, there's no way we can't have up to 8 job offers or even 10. And then even if we didn't have that, we should have an option to be able to throw our name in a bucket, right? Like, if I'm trying to go for this Miami job that just opened up, why can't I go to Miami and say, you know what? I would like to put my name in the hat for this job. Like, I should be able to do that. And they should be able to take that into consideration. Like, doesn't mean you get the job, but that should be an option, right? And then, negotiate the contract, that kind of thing. That would just add a little bit more immersion to it, add a little bit of a different element to the game that's not there right now. I would like to see dynamic pipelines. I think if you recruit heavily from certain areas, your pipeline should change. Right now, I don't think it changes. And, then there's like some small stuff. Like, I think the ability to choose the weather for the games would be cool. I mean, it doesn't have to happen, but I think it would be a cool element. And it might be a little weird. We don't have to have that, but that's just something I would like to see because I hate when I go load into a game and it's raining. I just can't stand playing in the rain. I like the snow and I love, sunny games, but I can't stand the rain games. I think you should be able to upgrade your stadium, especially if you're doing a rebuild. Your star rating should actually mean something. If you go from a 2.5 star, 3-star school and get them up to a 4.5, 5-star, that should mean something more than just getting more recruiting hours. It should mean you got more dollars coming in that you can use to upgrade facilities, upgrade your your actual stadium. Like, you should be able to do that, right? So stadium upgrades would be a cool thing. There's a lot of small stuff here. There's spring games. Spring games happen, right? That's your first chance to see what your new team is going to look like. I should be able to use a spring game to set my depth charts, to make sure that I can, upgrade my players, to get some skill points to upgrade my players. It may not be as much as you would normally get, but it should be pretty much what you would get in a regular game. I should also be able to do certain challenges maybe, or even if it's just completing the game, to actually uncover some dev traits, right? If I got new recruits in, I want to know what their dev traits are. I can use the spring game to do that because otherwise there's just nothing you can do. So I would like to see something like that. And, for the recruiting, I think there's a few things that can be updated. I think one thing is with the battles between schools, right? When you get to the end and it's a close recruiting battle, there's a point in time where it's just kind of bland, right? They added the recruiting battles for 26, but it didn't really give you any sort of indication on what really happens, right? It just prolongs the process a little bit. And then you end up losing or winning like you would in 25. There's really not much different. But I would like to see the battles actually mean something. And, within that, I think they need to tweak the sway mechanic. I think the sway mechanic should actually be to sway a recruit away from another school. And if I'm not mistaken, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, the sway mechanic on the old games used to do that. Right now, it's just to change their ideal pitch. But I'm pretty sure in the old games, it used to actually like take influence away from other schools. And I think they need to go back to that because then you actually feel like you're actually doing something to affect their decision as opposed to, well, I just hope I'm doing what I need to do to affect them and get them to come to my school, right? Because right now it's just like you're in a race for this, recruit, but you don't really know like if you're going to get them or not. And you don't know how you get them or how you lose them. It's just like, okay, well, I guess they had better grades. But there's no real way to tell that unless you go do the research on the My School tab. Nobody's got time for all that, man. Like, just give me the option to directly affect what their decision is. And then I would like to see a scheme fit indicator for recruits, kind of like what you see in Madden. I want to know based on my scheme if this player is going to fit. I know they have the archetypes, and that's one thing where you can recruit certain archetypes. But if a player has an archetype or just attributes that fit into what I like to run, I want to know that. I would like to see that. And they can keep the, little diamond in the rough indicator. But I think the scheme fit indicator would be a nice addition because it would help you kind of recruit a little bit better and understand what players you're bringing in. So that's just, a few things. Now, one other small thing that I would like to see is the ability to choose your home crowd theme for games. I got to know what my crowd is wearing so that I can match the uniforms to what they're doing. If it's a Big 12 championship or a rivalry game, it is nighttime, I'm going blackout at the Jones. Shout out Texas Tech. Hopefully we make some noise in this college football playoff. But the point is, I got to be able to make sure that my crowd is doing what I need them to do. Wear red, white out, blackout, whatever we're going to do, I want to match the uniforms to match the crowd. Let me pick, let me know something, right? Just small things, but there's a lot of small improvements that I think can go a long way. They might even want to make some adjustments to the coaching tree. I don't even know what to adjust there, but I think that if they made some adjustments, I think it would really go a long way in Dynasty. So just as you do with Road to Glory, let me know what you think about Dynasty. Let me know what you think about what I had to say, but I also want to know what you've got to say. So if you got any other additions, if there's anything you think I left out, let me know in the comment section. I appreciate all the support. Appreciate you sticking around. And if you want to know what I got to say about gameplay improvements, presentation, and UI improvements, click on part 1 at the end of this video. Appreciate you sticking around, and y'all take it easy.